Hello everyone. Today we talk about 7 hidden law of life. The first hidden law of life is the law of self-responsibility, and it's the one nobody teaches you. Yet it influences every decision, every reaction, and every result you get. Most people grow up believing life just happens, that success is a combination of luck, timing, or circumstances. But the truth is far more empowering and far more uncomfortable. Your life is a mirror reflecting your choices, your habits, and what you tolerate. When you finally understand that no one is coming to save you, something powerful shifts inside you. You stop waiting. You stop hoping someone will rescue you. You stop blaming your past, your parents, your boss, your job, or the world for the way things are. Instead, you begin to realize that you have always had the steering wheel in your hands, even when you fail to use it. Self-responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that has happened to you. It means accepting that you are responsible for what you do next. It means you may not have chosen the pain, but you get to choose how you heal from it. You may not control who hurt you, but you control whether you keep carrying that hurt into your future. This law asks you to stand up and say, I am in charge of my life, and I am done giving that power away. The moment you make that decision, your entire world begins to reorganize around it. When you understand this law, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop letting fear drive the car. You stop handing over your future to procrastination, laziness, or the story that you're not ready yet. You become honest with yourself in a way most people never are. You start to see the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And instead of feeling ashamed, you feel motivated because now you know it's not fate or luck holding you back. It's the daily choices you're making. And if choices created the problem, choices can create the solution. This law teaches you that action is the antidote to feeling stuck. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for clarity, confidence, or permission, and instead create those feelings through movement. You begin to understand that confidence is not a requirement, it's a result. Clarity is not something you think your way into. It's something you earn by trying, failing, learning, and trying again. You realize that nothing in life changes if you don't change. Your results don't change if your habits don't change. Your future doesn't change if your mindset doesn't change. And here's the part most people never acknowledge. Self-responsibility is freedom. It may feel heavy at first because it forces you to confront everything you've avoided, everything you've postponed, and everything you've blamed on someone else. But once you get past that initial discomfort, you feel lighter than you have in years. Why? Because you finally take your power back. You stop being a passenger in your own life. You stop letting circumstances dictate your destiny. You stop giving people control over your emotions, your opportunities, and your decisions. You learn to forgive yourself for the periods of your life when you didn't know better. You learn to give yourself grace for the times you were operating from survival, not clarity. But you also learn that grace is not an excuse to stay the same. It's a foundation from which you rise. When you embrace responsibility, you start making decisions that align with the future you want, not the past you lived. You start setting boundaries, saying no to what drains you, and saying yes to what challenges and grows you. You stop pretending you don't know what you need to change. You stop lying to yourself about what you want. You stop living life on autopilot and start living it on purpose. This law is the gateway to every other hidden law of life. Because once you accept responsibility, you unlock access to change, discipline, courage, and growth. Everything you desire begins with this moment of truth. Your life is your responsibility, and that is the most empowering realization you will ever have. The second hidden law of life is the law of consistent action, and it's one of the most misunderstood principles in the entire conversation about success, happiness, and growth. We live in a world obsessed with intensity, big goals, dramatic announcements, overnight transformations. But the truth is that your life is built quietly, slowly, steadily, through the small actions you repeat every single day. Nobody teaches you this because it's not glamorous. Consistency doesn't look impressive. It doesn't get applause. It's not exciting to wake up and make the same small choice again and again. But that is exactly why so few people master it, and why those who do change their entire lives. Consistency is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It is the invisible force that turns intentions into results. You can dream big, plan beautifully, talk about your goals for years, but if you don't take consistent action, nothing happens. The brain doesn't learn from good intentions. It learns from repetition. Every time you take a small step, even if it feels insignificant, you are training your mind to show up, to stay committed, and to believe in your ability to follow through. This builds something far more powerful than motivation. It builds identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who takes action, someone who keeps going, someone who doesn't quit when things get hard or boring. This law teaches you that consistency beats intensity, because intensity is temporary. You can be motivated for a week. You can try hard for a day. You can make a huge effort when you feel inspired. But none of that matters if you don't repeat it. The people who win in life aren't the ones who do the most in a short burst. They're the ones who keep showing up when the excitement fades. They're the ones who keep writing, keep training, keep learning, keep improving, even when nobody is watching. The truth is, consistency is built in silence. It's built in early mornings and late nights, in the ordinary moments where you choose discipline over distraction. And here's the part most people never understand. Consistent action doesn't mean perfect action. It means showing up even when you don't feel ready. It means doing something instead of nothing. It means allowing small progress to count as progress. Too many people sabotage themselves because they think if they can't do everything, then doing something isn't worth it. But life doesn't reward perfection. It rewards persistence. Every small step compounds. Every tiny action builds momentum. Every day you show up, even a little, strengthens the muscle of discipline. Think about water carving through stone, or the way seeds grow roots underground long before anyone sees the plant emerge. That's what consistency does in your life. At first, it feels like nothing is happening. You don't see results. You feel frustrated. You question yourself. But beneath the surface, you are rewiring your brain, building resilience, strengthening your habits, and creating a foundation that can support long-term success. Then one day, the results show up. People call it luck, but you know it wasn't luck at all. It was consistency finally paying off. The law of consistent action also teaches you something profound about control. You cannot control outcomes, timing, or external circumstances, but you can control your actions, your attitude, and your effort. When why? Focus on what you can control. You stop feeling overwhelmed. You stop doubting your ability to move forward. You stop waiting for motivation or perfect timing. Instead, you create your own progress, one decision at a time. And that consistency begins to compound in ways you could have never predicted. You become stronger, more confident, more capable. You begin to trust yourself. You stop being the person who starts and quits, and you become the person who commits and completes. Consistency rewrites your story. It transforms your identity. It builds a life that is stable, fulfilling, meaningful, and yours. This hidden law is simple but powerful. Small actions done repeatedly change everything. Consistency is not the secret to success. It is the foundation of it. Every dream you have becomes possible the moment you decide to show up every single day, no matter what. The third hidden law of life is the law of energy exchange. And once you understand it, you stop seeing life as random and start recognizing it as a constant negotiation of what you allow in and what you give out. Everything in your life is an exchange of energy. Your thoughts, your habits, your relationships, your routines, your environment, your work, and even your self-talk. Every single thing either fuels you or drains you. Nothing is neutral. Most people never learn this, so they move through life exhausted, overwhelmed, and confused about why they feel stuck. But the truth is simple. Your results reflect where your energy is going. Your success, clarity, creativity, and well-being depend on your ability to protect and direct your energy the same way you protect and manage your time or your money. Think about it. When you spend time with certain people, you feel inspired, understood, and elevated. That's an energy gain. When you spend time with others, you feel tense, tired, or discouraged. That's an energy drain. The same is true of your habits. Some habits strengthen you. Reading, exercising, prioritizing sleep, staying organized, practicing gratitude, planning your day. Other habits weaken you. Procrastination, overthinking, complaining, numbing yourself with distractions, avoiding difficult conversations, or saying yes when you want to say no. Most people don't realize they're trading their energy for things that give them nothing in return. They're running on empty because they give too much of themselves to things that offer no growth, no joy, no progress, just noise. This law teaches you that your energy is your responsibility. You're not powerless. You're not obligated to stay in environments that constantly drain you. You're not required to maintain relationships that diminish your self-worth. You're not stuck with habits that sabotage your potential. You have the permission and the responsibility to choose differently. And when you start choosing differently, everything changes. Your mind becomes lighter. Your decisions become clearer. Your motivation becomes stronger. Because when energy returns to you, so does your power. One of the most important truths you learn from this law is that energy leaks come from the smallest things. Clutter around you creates clutter inside you. Unfinished tasks weigh on your mind more than you realize. The notifications on your phone, the content you consume, the conversations you entertain, they all pull from the same limited energy supply. When you ignore these leaks, you feel overwhelmed and unmotivated. Not because you're incapable, but because you're drained. But the opposite is also true. When you intentionally surround yourself with energizing routines, environments, and people, you begin to rise effortlessly. You don't need to force motivation, it appears naturally. You feel more productive without trying hard. You think more clearly without overanalyzing. You access creativity and discipline because your energy is aligned with your goals instead of scattered across distractions. This law also reveals something deeper. The quality of your life depends on the quality of what you exchange energy with. If you give your energy to fear, doubt, and excuses, life becomes heavy. If you give your energy to growth, learning, and meaningful action, life becomes lighter and more rewarding. Your energy is always moving. The question is whether it's moving you forward or pulling you backward. Once you understand this, you become intentional. You start asking simple but powerful questions. Does this help me grow? Does this drain me or fuel me? Does this align with who I want to become? Does this bring me peace or chaos? And the moment you start answering with honesty, you naturally begin removing what drains you and increasing what energizes you. That's how transformation begins. Not through dramatic changes, but through conscious energy management. The law of energy exchange teaches you that life becomes easier when you protect your energy and align it with your purpose. When you stop giving your power to things that weaken you, you reclaim the strength, clarity, and motivation you've been missing. And once your energy aligns with your vision, there is nothing you cannot create. The fourth hidden law of life is the law of focus and attention. And once you truly understand it, you realize that your entire reality shifts based on what you choose to pay attention to. Most people go through life with their focus on autopilot, constantly pulled by noise, distraction, fear, and negativity. They aren't choosing what they focus on. Their environment is choosing for them. And because they never learned how powerful attention really is, they never understand why their life feels chaotic, unfulfilling, or stuck. But the truth is this: your life follows your focus. Whatever you repeatedly give mental energy to will expand, strengthen, and eventually shape your identity and your outcomes. Your brain is a spotlight. When you shine it on problems, your problems grow. When you shine it on possibilities, possibilities grow. When you focus on what's missing, you feel empty. When you focus on what's available, you feel empowered. The human mind is constantly scanning for information, but it only prioritizes what you teach it to prioritize through repetition and intention. Every thought you focus on is like casting a vote for the kind of future you're building. Most people don't realize that they've been voting for fear, doubt, and self-sabotage for years simply by giving those thoughts their attention. This law teaches you that focus is not just a mental skill, it's a form of self-leadership. You are training your brain every day, whether you mean to or not. When you constantly replay your mistakes, your brain becomes an expert at spotting reasons to feel ashamed. When you repeatedly think about how overwhelmed you are, your brain gets better at identifying stress. But when you intentionally choose to focus on progress, possibilities, gratitude, or solutions, your brain begins to change. It starts looking for evidence that you can grow. It starts noticing opportunities. It starts seeing reasons you are capable instead of reasons you should give up. Attention shapes your emotions, your decisions, and your behavior. If you focus on everything going wrong, you hesitate. You doubt yourself. You procrastinate because your brain is flooded with threat signals instead of possibilities. But if you focus on the next step, you can take the smallest action you can complete, the opportunity hidden inside the challenge. Suddenly you feel momentum, you feel movement, you feel a sense of control. Small shifts in attention create massive shifts in outcome. Another truth of this law is that distraction is the enemy of transformation. We live in a world engineered to steal your attention. Notifications, alerts, apps, advertisements, endless scrolling, conversations that drain you, environments that overwhelm you. Every distraction is a tax on your potential. Every time you lose focus, you lose energy, time, and clarity. Most people think they have a motivation problem, but what they actually have is a focus problem. You can't feel motivated when your attention is constantly scattered. You can't make progress when your mind is constantly reacting instead of directing. The law of focus and attention teaches you to be intentional, to choose what you allow into your awareness, to set boundaries around your mental space, to protect your attention the way you would protect something priceless because it is priceless. Your attention determines your quality of life. Where attention goes, your future follows. When you begin applying this law, you start asking yourself simple but powerful questions. What am I focusing on right now? Is this helping me or hurting me? Is this thought aligned with my goals or my fears? Am I feeding the life I want or the life I want to leave behind? And the moment you begin answering those questions honestly, you naturally shift your attention toward growth, strength, and purpose. This law reminds you that you don't need to control everything. You only need to control your focus. When you direct your attention toward what matters, your life begins to reorganize around that focus. Your mindset becomes stronger, your decisions become clearer, your habits become intentional, and you begin moving forward with confidence instead of hesitation. Change your focus and you change your future. The fifth hidden law of life is the law of emotional mastery, and it is one of the most life-changing principles you can ever learn because it teaches you how to stop being controlled by your emotions and start using them as information instead of instruction. Most people were never taught how to feel, how to process, or how to regulate their emotions. They were taught to suppress them, hide them, or let them explode when the pressure becomes too much. As a result, their emotions run their life, dictate their decisions, push them into regret, hold them hostage in fear, or keep them trapped in patterns they don't understand. But the truth is simple. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And that control, that pause between feeling and reacting, is where your power lives. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you never feel anxious, angry, sad, frustrated, or overwhelmed. It means you don't let those emotions drive your behavior. You don't let a temporary feeling create a permanent outcome. You don't let fear stop you from trying or self-doubt stop you from growing. It's learning to say, this emotion is valid, but it is not in charge. Your emotions are signals, not commands. They are messengers, not dictators. When you start treating them this way, you reclaim control over your life. One of the most powerful things this law teaches you is that emotions are not the truth. They're your brain's interpretation of what's happening. Your brain reacts to uncertainty with fear. It reacts to discomfort with anxiety. It reacts to change with doubt. That doesn't mean you're in danger. It means your brain is trying to protect you based on old patterns. When you understand this, you stop taking every emotion so personally. You stop believing the lie that you're not capable, not ready, or not enough. You learn to differentiate between an emotion that's trying to warn you and an emotion that's simply trying to keep you in your comfort zone. Emotional mastery requires self-awareness. It requires pausing long enough to ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Where is this emotion coming from? Is this emotion based on facts or assumptions? Am I reacting to the present or to something from my past? The moment you start questioning your emotions instead of blindly following them, something incredible happens. You create space, and that space is where better decisions are made. That space is where maturity, wisdom, and clarity live. Another truth this law teaches is that emotional strength is built through practice, not avoidance. When you avoid discomfort, you weaken your emotional resilience. But when you allow yourself to feel discomfort without running from it, you get stronger. Every time you sit with your anxiety instead of escaping it, you build tolerance. Every time you have a difficult conversation, instead of avoiding it, you build courage. Every time you take action despite your fear, you build confidence. Emotional mastery is not about eliminating emotion, it's about expanding your capacity to handle it. What people often don't realize is that emotional management affects everything. Your relationships, your goals, your health, your career, your self-respect. When you can't regulate your emotions, your reactions damage your connections. Your impulsiveness sabotages your progress, and your fear shrinks your potential. But when you learn to regulate your emotions, you communicate better, you think more clearly, you respond with intention, and you stay aligned with who you want to be instead of collapsing into momentary feelings. This law gives you a new level of freedom because you no longer wake up dreading how you'll feel or fearing your own reactions. You trust yourself to handle anything that comes your way. You become grounded in chaos, steady in uncertainty, and calm in pressure. That doesn't make you emotionless. It makes you emotionally intelligent, emotionally resilient, and emotionally powerful. Emotional mastery is not the absence of feeling. It is the ability to feel deeply without losing yourself. And once you master this, you stop being a prisoner of your emotions and start becoming the author of your life. The sixth hidden law of life is the law of identity alignment. And it is the one that quietly determines every decision you make, every habit you repeat, and every limit you struggle against. Most people try to change their life by changing their actions, but they never address the deeper truth. You act according to who you believe you are. Identity drives behavior. If you believe you're inconsistent, you will behave inconsistently. If you believe you're bad at discipline, you'll avoid anything that requires discipline. If you believe you're unlucky, unworthy, or not capable, you will unconsciously sabotage your opportunities because your brain is wired to stay loyal to your identity, even when that identity is hurting you. This is why change feels hard. You're trying to grow while holding on to a version of yourself that was built from fear, mistakes, and old experiences. Identity alignment means the person you believe you are must match the person you are trying to become. If those two selves are in conflict, your life will feel like a tug-of-war. You might take action for a few days, but you'll always snap back to old habits because your identity hasn't changed. But the moment your identity shifts, everything else follows. When you believe you're disciplined, you act disciplined. When you believe you're worthy, you stop settling. When you believe you're capable, you start trying. Change becomes natural instead of forced, automatic instead of exhausting. This law teaches you that identity is not fixed. It's shaped. You are not defined by your past, your failures, or the labels someone else gave you. You are shaped by what you repeatedly tell yourself, what you allow yourself to practice, and what you choose to believe about who you are becoming. Every time you take even a small action that aligns with the future version of you, you cast a vote for that identity. Every time you choose discipline instead of avoidance, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who follows through. Every time you speak kindly to yourself instead of tearing yourself apart, you reinforce the identity of someone who respects themselves. Identity is built through repetition, through choices, through self-honesty. One of the most important truths of this law is that misaligned identity creates inner conflict. When your heart wants growth but your identity is tied to your old mistakes, you feel stuck. When your goals are big but your self-belief is small, you hesitate. When you want to change, but the story you tell yourself is rooted in who you used to be, you procrastinate, you sabotage, you shrink. The problem is not your potential. It's the outdated self-image you're still carrying.